Hello, everybody. Welcome into episode 8 of the Super Mega Riftbound Podcast. We got some stuff to talk about today. Teddy and I are excited to lead you through it. Let's jump right into it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Like Eli said, episode 8 of Super Mega Riftbound. We have a good amount of things to talk about today. Some fun things. Obviously, we're going to talk about the latest Chinese regional in Fuzhou this past weekend. And then obviously we have another one coming up that we're going to look forward to. We have a little fun segment. We're going to talk about different tournament styles and how that can be used to keep, a game fresh. We're obviously getting towards the end of set one. So we're now going to have to kind of think about, okay, what can you do to kind of have fun with it and keep the game fresh even in this kind of lull that we have. And also we're going to talk about limited. Eli and I ran a pre-Rift event in the indie Discord this past week, and we're going to kind of talk about our thoughts from that and what you guys can do to prepare your best for your pre-Rift events that are just in a few weeks. We get like 2 weeks. 2 weeks from now when we'll have our hands on Spirit Forge card, which is kind of crazy to say, but it's closing in, which is really cool. But first off, as always, last week in Riftbound, Eli, how was your last week in Riftbound, sir?
Yeah, it was pretty okay. Pretty good. I only got to go to one local this last week because my daughter started daycare. Very exciting. So life got away from us. Our sleep kind of got messed up, my wife and I, this last week. So still made time for one Riftbound local. Ended up going 2-1 with Darius Hook. A lot of fun. Had some actually really stellar games. The very last couple of games were really quite fantastic. It ended off, unfortunately, though. We wanted to time the last round. My opening hand so I opened Machine Evangel, Grand Stratagem, Imperial Decree, and I think another Machine Evangel. And I bottomed the Machine Evangel, one of the Machine Evangels, and the Imperial or the Grid Stratagem. Drew, and I drew another 2/5 drops. And I was like, oh, we're in turns right now. So this is just cooked. So the game ended because I just could not get on board. And it was Victor, so Victor just had to tap.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunate turn of events, but it is what it is. Still had a bunch of fun at the dugout.
Well, there you go. Yeah. I also got win to one locals this week. I went 2-1 as well with Yasuo. I almost said Aurelia. We're not there yet. Aurelia, though. I had some good games too. I played against a Yi, and we were at a point in the the game where it was kind of just like it was kind of like a Mexican standoff. And so we're at a point where he played a charm to try to move one of my guys in to keep me from holding. I defied it, and so he could take it. He had to wind wall it, which was kind of an interesting play, but it was also very fun. I got there, but then I started 2-0 and then lost to Kai'Sa, which the Kai'Sa matchup for Yasuo isn't the greatest. But yeah, good night. I've been at the shop again, just kind of running Riftbound. We had our skirmish last week that went well. We had I don't know if there's no, it wasn't a Kai'Sa mirror. We had, I don't know what was a Kai'Sa. It was Kai'Sa Annie, and Kai'Sa took it as always. But yeah, that was my last week of Riftbound. Pretty good. Again, just kind of a calm week, but I am excited for the next coming weeks with pre-rifts happening and all that. But we are going to jump into segment 1. We are going to talk about the past regional we had in China. Fuzhou. I hope I'm saying that right.
It's Fuzhou.
Fuzhou. There you go. Sorry, I wasn't. But first I'll look at the conversion rates for the event. We had obviously Draven doing obnoxiously good. Obviously, no other deck had over 100 representatives on the tournament in day one, and then obviously 40 of its decks going through, which its conversion percentage was obviously the best, but you still have like Ezreal and Ari, whose conversion percentage were around the same percentage, but obviously a lot less decks of those being played. So Eli, kind of just curious thoughts on this, because it kind of resembles Kai'Sa at the beginning a little bit, where she was just so overwhelmingly popular in China, but then we come to the Western and kind of just the rest of the world and picking up the meta, and it's a lot different. So I'm curious as to what your thoughts are on this whole Draven thing.
Yeah, I think we're seeing a similar effect to what we saw in China the first time around. The Chinese and Eastern metas in general for card
Mhm.
games tend to hyper fixate on the top 1 to 2 decks, and once they have that fixation and they think they're the best, they just try to play those decks and play those decks the best out of anybody. So it's far more, like, polarized toward the top end of the meta. People don't really experiment as much with other decks, at least on a wide scale like they would in the West, and so when that happens, a lot of the times, if you're behind, like Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Riftbound, when they are getting material before you are getting material over in the West, people can kind of doom a format before it even starts, and say, "Hey, this format is it's over. There's 60% of Dravens and Aurelia's the rest of it. There's no other deck. No other deck does anything." But I don't think that that is a healthy way to look at it because we already saw, like, China didn't play Annie at all,
No.
right? Like, they didn't even try Annie. They just said, "Has a bad Yi matchup, has to be a bad deck, move on." That won our first regional
Yeah,
over in the
exactly.
West, right? So, you gotta take everything for a grain of salt until you actually get cards in your hand, your products, get ready to
Mhm.
go.
Yeah.
Um, but once you do that, you're in a good situation because you can fully kind of develop your own thoughts and opinions on things. I think we're gonna see a lot of Draven in the West, but I think we're going to see a lot less than 60% bring rate
Yes.
to our regionals, especially because we over the West tend to fixate a bit more on the metal cards, it seems,
Mhm.
than China ended up doing. We had multiple decks that only had 2 representatives, which means they're actually just playing a 50-50, a coin flip to see who wins the best of metal card for some of these decks, which is insane. Very excited to see if that occurs at the regionals that are going to happen over in the West. I heavily doubt it. I think that most likely every deck is going to have at least a little bit of representation. I
Yes, I
think we'll
agree
still
too.
how much those cards went for. Obviously, less expensive in China, but still a good amount of money. So I think overall, you can't doom yet. You got to just say, okay, Draven is good. They're not even playing Miracle Draven as well, is the other side of it, right? They're playing the more spinny axe, like
Mhm.
mid-range value-y Draven. And so with that being the case, I don't think that you can say format's over, move on to the next one. Like there's a lot more room to wiggle around in than I think the 60% Draven lends itself to believe.
Yeah, and, you guys can see on screen we have, the deck list pulled up, that is, the one that won in, uh China, and as you can tell, like you said, it doesn't really resemble much of like the Western Draven decks that may be winning these like online tournaments. We have the spinning axes. We have a more of a I don't want to say mid-rangey deck, but it feels a little more mid-rangey to me. Uh, and then but you also have your big top end with like Thunder Song and Mind Splitter and Forerunner. Forerunner, I'm gonna keep harping on it. It's such a good card. I think it's just an insanely valuable card in a lot of these decks. Yeah. Any thoughts on the deck list from that one, Eli?
Like I said, I think it's just going to be pretty different
Yeah.
in the West. I think we have decided that Miracle Draven is the one that we think is better.
Hmm.
Um, Personally, I think that neither of the Dravens are actually the best deck in the format. I think that Ezreal's the best deck in the format, as showed by my draft last week, where I picked Ezreal over Draven. We're going to see if that holds true or ends up being true. But I will
Hmm.
say I've had far more games of Set 2 that I've personally tested that I feel are hopeless against Ezreal than I have against Draven. I always have game into Draven. I feel absolutely hopeless against Ezreal with a couple of the decks that I play.
Yeah,
And
I
so,
agree.
yep. So I think that where we might see a spike in that didn't have pretty much any solid representation over in China. So I don't think that they have discovered that one quite yet, but we will see how things progress. I'm very excited to see how things progress because if we can really have a different type of meta over here, I think this set has the bones to be a lot of fun. A lot of fun to
Yeah.
play.
And I think we're always like, what's gonna be the next Annie? What's gonna be the thing that pops up out of nowhere? And is it Ezreal right now? Is it going to be like we've already figured that out? Or once like obviously we have two regionals in the span of 3 weeks after the 2 weeks actually. After
Mhm.
Spirit Forge comes out, we have Bologna, however you want to say it. Uh, no, we have Bologna
All
in
of our European viewers are gonna be
yes.
very offended by that. I'm just
I
letting
am
you know. It's
aware. I'm
Bologna.
aware. I'm aware. Yeah, if you come after me if you want. Anyways, no. Yeah, we have that in Italy, and then we also have Vegas a week after that. So we're gonna get a lot of information from both of those events, but it also is interesting because those are really our only two. Those are our only two Riot run events
Mhm.
in set two. So in theory, people are going to say, "Oh, the meta is going to be figured out in 2 weeks." I wholeheartedly disagree. I think the meta is going to be figured out in results of that, and then all of these like third party, like SCG, CCS, PPG events that are going to happen during the set two meta are going to really be where we figure out, okay, what's the best? Because we kind of had the
Yeah.
same thing that happened, I think in Houston, where that was pretty quickly after the release of Origins. It wasn't like I think it was like a month, maybe not. Maybe it was a little bit. Was it? I think it was because it was in December, right?
I believe
Uh,
it was in December. Yeah.
so about a month after. But this is very close. So I'm just curious to see kind of how the meta is going to evolve after those two events, leading into these third-party events that still have a pretty big prize pool attached to them.
Yeah, definitely. I think it should be pretty cool to see what happens. I think we're gonna have, like I said, a lot more people that are playing for the best of.
Hmm.
So probably not gonna have that 60% Draven. I would wager to guess that it will definitely not be the conversion rate that it was at this tournament either. I think there are a lot more Draven answers
Hmm.
than I think were represented at this tournament, but I think that we're probably even going to see that start uh, as of recording. You are going to be seeing it tomorrow, or you're going to be seeing it starting yesterday.
Hmm.
We have another regional that is occurring in China. Go ahead and follow Turn 'em Sideways or Challenger TCG. They're both doing full live coverage for the events, so you can check those out, kind of see what's going on over in China. They have really good like stream coverage. It looks great. It has like special animations for when champion cards are played and everything. It's a blast, and a lot of the English speaking community is definitely looking at these tournaments and trying to see if they can pick anything up. We saw the Ezreal deck come out of this one, not the Ezreal deck that I'm referring to, but an Ezreal deck that plays the rat that when you play a gear, you ready
Rats
it.
real.
Yeah,
Mhm.
rat Ezreal, where it just like zooms all around the board with coals. That's a pretty fun deck. But that came out of this last tournament, right?
Mhm.
So they are still trying to innovate, at least on a small scale. I'm just hoping that we see it on a larger scale once we get it over in the West.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see kind of what happens this weekend. I do want to bring up before we move on. We have a Fiora deck list. Fiora got second at uh, at the past regional, and it's just an interesting deck. I think it's obviously yellow and purple. Yeah, yellow and purple. I wish yellow and orange are two still very good colors. You have additions like Punch First and all these new high powerful cards. Uh, cards, you have like BF Sword, all this type of stuff. So I actually really like Fiora. I think it's a fun deck. I think obviously it can be played very well and it can lead to results, which it has. Uh, Ela, I'm curious to know your thoughts. Obviously, I don't know if this is what we expected to see in the finals, but obviously it has some legs and has some good things to go in it.
Oh, I like Fiora a lot. I think it's just good stuff mid range.
Yep.
In a similar way to set one, good stuff mid range deck, but it has a signature spell that I think really supports that strategy.
Hmm.
Showstopper didn't solve set's problem. Showstopper allowed you to move ahead in your game
Hmm.
plan, whereas Riposte actually solves a problem that the
Yeah.
deck had. So I think that Riposte in general is an excellent signature spell, has a lot of utility, and Fiora being able to take advantage of the extra runes, the recycle cost really doesn't matter all that much for the deck, which is very nice. You often play out a lot more runes with Fiora than he did with Set, and that was one of Set's problems in Set 1.
Yeah. I think definitely Set struggled sometimes with just being able to keep all the runes you need on the board because it's like I feel like orange and yellow are two colors that have a lot of big recycle costs and what that you want to play.
Yep.
Uh, so yeah, I definitely agree. I think Fiora is gonna be fun. I think this is one of the decks I want to try out. Just it's a little bit of a difference than what I usually play and keep Aurelia safe and
Mhm.
unit Victor. Azir is something I was testing out. The other day I was testing Earless and I really like it. So I think there's a lot more options than people are really
Yeah.
saying for set two that are going to be fun to play that you may not obviously if you want to win and you want to win these matches like every single match you play or have a high percentage. I would probably recommend playing Ezreal or Draven out of the gate just because I'd say two of the best decks, if not the
Mhm.
two best decks. But
Aurelia
there,
is good too. I hate on
yes,
Aurelia, but Aurelia is a good deck.
uh, and I think like there's a lot of things that will still be good, and I think we're gonna have much more of an open meta than it's being labeled as right now, just because of Chinese results and early meta testing. When we really don't know, we really haven't seen how the Western and European metas will evolve without any of these really big tournaments at all. Uh, but last deck, Aurelia, I do want to touch on her. Just this was the other top four. We had another Draven in top four, but I do want to mention Aurelia. Obviously, this is just lots of good stuff. I think the one thing that is interesting for me in this deck is you only have one Aurelia, and the Aurelia I play, I have three. But I think that's just probably something that actually will go down to two. I think I've been considering it. I really never have a reason to. Uh, but it was funny. I built a deck. I was sitting in class one day. I'm like, wonder if I could build an Aurelia deck where Aurelia was the only unit in the deck. And it
Oh
worked for
gosh.
one game. And then it didn't
And
work the
then
rest of the
never
time.
again. Yeah.
Never again.
And then never
Uh,
again. Yeah.
uh, but like you see, obviously, you have Draven, you have the new Poro, you have Stellacorn, Defiant Dance. I think is one of the best signature spells in the game, and I've said this already. Like, there's so many good cards that this deck has access to. Guardian Angel. So yeah, just obviously, I know you hate on it, Eli, but I think Aurelia still will be up there in decks that are played consistently at the top of
The
tournaments.
purple Draven is a very good card in Aurelia.
Oh yes, 100%.
That is an incredibly good card in Aurelia because it forces your opponent to have to leave up resources almost every single turn to
Mhm,
respect the Draven once it becomes viable to
mhm,
play, especially in some of these decks like Azir, so these decks like Victor, you have these small units that are defending these battlefields and are stuck in those battlefields for a turn. So Draven just waltzes in, gains an
mhm.
extra point on it, and it really sucks. So you have to leave up mana
Well,
for
yeah.
Facebreaker, have to leave up mana for Hidden Blade, have to leave up mana for just whatever removal you have for that Draven, which then means that you're not curving as efficiently and your game plan falls behind.
Mhm.
So it's a very strong option that Aurelia has that really forces your opponent to play around it.
Yeah, and I think obviously with the Aurelia legend ability to be able to ready Draven, it's a very much a thing where
That's the
people
point.
yeah, like you
Yeah.
have to be able to respect the fact that if there's any equipment on the board, you can put a Draven down and he can go burr as
Mhm.
quickly as possible. So yeah, I think like you said, Draven's just very good. And purple and green are just good colors in and of themselves. Not so fast. I think obviously a uh, really good response because I think we've seen like I know like early on when we were testing and I was testing Aurelia, I don't remember what card it was, but like it like destroy target enemy gear or something like that. Uh, and not so fast, I think, does a really good job at getting rid of that, and it's cheaper than a wind
Salvage is
wall.
the card you're
Salvage,
talking
yeah.
about. Yeah.
Uh, and being able to it's cheaper than wind wall, and yes, sure, maybe it does limit you that chooses a friendly unit or gear, but in Aurelia everyone's going to be choosing your friendly unit or gear to try to get rid of your GA or uh, Boots of Swiftness. I think are the only two, yeah, in the Siren.
Yeah. And
But
importantly, it does not stop Thermo Beam, and Thermo Beam is going to be the most popular gear removal
yes,
just because Draven is
oh
going to be the
yes,
most popular deck.
which is
So,
so sad. But
yep, Thermo Beam going to go pretty hard in this matchup, I
I'm
think.
just so excited to play Purple Draven into Draven and just Draven on Draven hate. It's gonna be so fun. Uh, I think that's gonna be my favorite thing is when people are like, "Oh yes, I can win with Draven," then I plop down my own Draven and say, "How does it feel?" Anyways, well, yeah, that was kind of our recap of the Chinese regional that just happened. Obviously, we have another one this weekend, so keep your eyes on that. Obviously, for us, it's overnight, but you can always catch up on what happens. I know we're getting a lot of snow here, so that's probably going to be my snow day plan is to just catch up on whatever happens in China. But yeah, just let us know your thoughts down below. Kind of curious as to what people are thinking about this new meta and what it can mean for us here in the West and also in Europe. But moving on, obviously, we were just talking about these big regional tournaments, but something that I think has been happening more consistently lately is these different tournament styles. I want to mention Busasaurus held a team tournament this past, what was it, last weekend? Uh,
Brokane held the tournament
Brocane.
last weekend.
Brocane, yes.
Yep. Brokane and the Four Horsemen in the Four Horsemen
Yes.
Discord. That was a team-based event. So there were 4 teams that went up against each other. Each team had 9 players on it. And you essentially paired one of each player against each other just randomly. Um, Played through, everyone played one specific deck the entire event, and it was pretty fun. It was pretty fun. It had a little bit of logistical issues, but that's to be expected with a that many people in a tournament happening all at the same time. Logistical issues are always going to occur, but definitely a cool concept. We're going to see if it continues on in the future. But there's also we're seeing a lot of team events like you're talking about, whether it be 2v2 tournaments popping up. I know a couple of the locals by us are considering running some 2v2 tournaments. We've seen online some more team-based tournaments popping up. It seems like
Mhm.
people really want to play communally with this game, which is really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I definitely think it's just the cool to be able to see kind of these different events. I think, like I said earlier, it's been getting a little stale as we are approaching set two. Everyone's kind of moved into the set two testing, and obviously, I believe Brocane was a set two viable tournament.
It was.
So we're not really seeing any more set one of these. Kind of because people are just kind of like, okay, we're kind of moving on. I know you said before, like your locals past this past week were 10 people. Mine were only 7, so those numbers may drop a little leading up, but that's kind of to be expected. Like, there's nothing that you can really do about that. I think people are just kind of like, yeah, I'm bored. I don't really know if I want to play this anymore. I've been playing set two so much. Why go back and play set one?
I
Uh,
think that's actually something to talk about in and of itself. I think
mhm.
that that is one of the worst symptoms that we have of
Oh, I
being
agree.
behind China currently.
Hmm.
So we're gonna catch up to China. I think by set 4, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly. If that is correct, correct me if I'm wrong in the
That
comments.
sounds right. I think set
Um,
yeah, I think that,
yeah,
like, the Q3 is what they said.
yeah. So it when we catch up, this isn't going to be as much of a problem. But right now, there's a lot of fatigue happening, and I think it is in part due to the fact that we got reveals immediately.
Mhm,
And because we got reveals immediately, everyone just immediately shifted to set 2. And when everyone shifted to set 2, set 1 meta still was ticking strong at that time,
mhm,
right? So it it moved too fast, I think, and I think we're going to see a similar thing happen for set 3 because we're getting set 3 reveals pretty much as soon as we get set 2 in the West.
mhm.
Like it's
Yeah.
not that far
No, it's not.
separated at all, which is unfortunate because it means we might run into a similar situation where people just start testing set 3 after the large events because the large events are happening at the front end of set 2.
Mhm,
So that's definitely something that I'm worried about. I think that giving metas their time to breathe and progress is an important thing to do.
mhm.
We saw Annie win the first event, but then we saw a lot of decks kind of creeping up. Like we saw MF Aurora win in
Victor.
Orlando. We saw Victor getting some more results in a couple of tournaments. There's just a lot of things that I think if we spent more time on set 1, might have gotten fleshed out a little bit more. That it's kind of sad that they didn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it comes down to, obviously, when they made the game, it was initially made just to be in China. It wasn't made to be a global game, uh, and so they kinda had to push it back for the US and for, kind of the rest of the world. I just said the US because that's where we're from, but, I think it just comes down to the fact that, like you said, like, there's just fatigue. When we got was it December 2nd or December 3rd is when that set 2 was fully released, and
Right.
it's like I'll say I was a suspect of that. I started testing set 2 right away. Uh, and so I think it just comes down to the fact that, like, yeah, there's gonna be fatigue, and it's
Mhm.
gonna happen one more time going into set 3. Uh, because I don't know if we have dates yet for when spoilers are gonna start for Unleashed, but it's coming, and it will probably come once Vegas is wrapped and both of the two Bologna and Vegas are wrapped, and once those are both done, it's just gonna be like, okay, yeah, what's in set 3? Because China's getting set 3 pretty quickly. But it also is interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens with China in that, because their set 3 is going to be a lot longer than their sets 1 or 2, because they are basically waiting an extra cycle for them. It's around, I don't know the exact number, but it's a lot longer because they're waiting for us to get to set 4,
Mm-hmm.
uh, because our set 3 doesn't come out until May, and then I don't know. I'm gonna say it's probably August that set 4 will come out, and that's when we'll match up with China release date. So that'll be nice to look forward to. Middle of the year after summer is kind of wrapping, we're gonna have these reveals at the same time as China, which will be interesting to see. I think also for kind of like it's so interesting because I was talking with a few content creators from Lorcana and how everything's lined up, everyone gets a chance to like for content creators to reveal cards. This also opens up an opportunity when we go into set 4 for more content creators to reveal cards and have that more of a system with them. But because like most of the North American content creators aren't getting much of anything to reveal because China gets it way before. So,
Right.
uh, but yeah, I think this is obviously a kind of a tangent into what our original topic was. But yeah, just I hope that if you're considering playing in some next 2 weeks, go ahead, go play. I think it's really cool. Just keep showing up at the store, and then obviously go enjoy those pre-rift events in a few weeks and all that.
Yeah.
Um,
Pre-rift
but
events are going to be a lot of fun.
Yes. Speaking of pre-rift events, our last segment, obviously a shorter episode today, but we're gonna have a nice long episode next week, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But you want to tell them about our pre-rift event we had last weekend?
Yeah, so we ran Teddy ran, I should say, a little bit of a pre-rift event online. There was a great platform that he found that was able to
Rifty.com. Shout
yep,
out.
Rifty.com that was able to give us a pre-rift pool. So the
Mhm.
15 cards randomly assigned with the champion, and then the packs as well. And it randomly opened the packs, and we had those randomly assigned pools. And once we did that, we would build our decks. We built, I think we had how many people?
We had
7
eight
people? 8
people.
people? 8
Mhm.
people. We had 8 people total. And we played 3 rounds of back and forth Swiss. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of
Mhm.
fun. I liked the event. I will say I think the pre-rift decks might be a little bit too strong actually to
I
get a
agree.
really big limited format feel.
Mhm.
It does not feel similar to say a Magic draft would feel. It feels more similar to a structure deck tournament where everyone is a little bit on a footing, but the problem is that some of the pre-rift decks are just significantly better than the other
Yeah.
pre-rift decks. And so that can create a little bit of disparity in the strength of what you can build just outright. I think that orange looks like it's probably going to be one of, if not the best color to be in
I'll
for
touch on
this
the
event.
orange real quick just before
Yeah.
you continue. Every deck, every box, pre-order box also has the Yon promo in it, which we were talking about. I think it was Gail had mentioned it, uh, that everyone's gonna have it, and so everyone's gonna look to play orange because Yon's a very powerful card for an event like this. If you're able to plop that down, uh, get and there's an open battlefield, you're able to move in, you can do that and snipe something off your board. And we all know that board control is the best thing, and having to be able to is like just keep putting characters down. And maybe I know like we differ in that opinion a little bit with how we play limited, but like if you're able to keep putting characters down and units down, you're going to be able to control the board better. I think Yon is really good because it's 6 might, if I'm
Mhm.
correct. So he can deal 6 to something on the bench
It's a
that you're
5 might. It's a
is a
6
5
cost
might.
5 might, I believe.
Yasuo, I'm thinking Yasuo. Yasuo
Yeah.
is 6 might. But it's a strong card, and everyone having access to it is going to make these decks. I think we're going to see if you have orange, so you get like Jax. I think Jax. I don't know,
Jax Lucian.
Jax and Lucian. Yes, will be two very powerful just in and of itself that you have orange in it. But yes, continue on your tangent about orange and everything else.
Yeah, I think orange looked like the strongest color in
Mhm,
large part to the fact that everyone is going to be having access to that Yon.
mhm.
Yon is very strong. A lot of the orange cards are just very good in a limited format. Like Punch First is insane in limited.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely insane. Rune Runner is probably a good card to open. I don't believe it's in
Mhm.
any of the pre-rift decks, but Rune Runner is probably a good card to open. There's not a lot of removal in this set that's coming out. So a lot of the removal was set 1. There's some, like there's Drag Under in yellow and some removal like that. But because it is a low removal format, it is definitely going to be hyper minion or not minion creature.
Mhm.
I cannot speak. It's not creature in this game either. It's unit, heavily unit focused.
Yeah.
There's going to be a high amount of units that, if you can stick them, are going to be able to
Mhm.
perform incredibly well. We also noticed that a lot of weapons were seeing a lot of play
Yes.
in
Yes.
this limited format. BF sword went absolutely insane.
Oh, yes.
Every single time I saw BF sword, it was just absolutely crazy. Uh,
Having that ability to change might around in these decks, especially when if people pull like the right commons and uncommons and even rares, you're gonna see consistency in that because there are very good commons, uncommons, and rares, and if you pull those, you're gonna play them like no matter what. I feel like
right.
if they fit in your colors, obviously, but you're gonna see a lot of similarity in that. So being able to like just I'll use Master Foresight. I know it's a set one card, but having a card like that where you can change the might by one really changes math in these events because you don't really have a there's not many ways to manipulate it besides equipment. I feel like we have some things that can up and like if obviously if like you pull like something like like Aurelia's signature spell that can do +2 -2, uh that's always great. But it's just a very interesting dynamic to see what's going to happen with these might reductions and amplifications that come from equipment and all that.
Yeah, definitely is. We don't have something like Flash in Magic either. So in Magic, Blue in Draft has a lot of units generally that you can flash in with open mana. So you can like hold mana open, flash something in on your opponent's turn. You can't do that in this game quite yet, and because we can't do that, leaving mana open feels a lot worse in Draft.
Yeah.
In colors like green and such, because your opponent can just stick you on the mana and develop their board without you being able to interact in any
hmm
spot. So definitely think that, at least in my opinion, the more aggressive colors seem to be coming out on top in that aspect.
Yeah. If you're trying to play a slow game in I think in any limited, if you're trying to play a slow game, you're not going to win. Uh
Oh, see, in Magic you can. It just depends on the format. Depends on the
it's true.
limited format. So because specifically you have options that you can like play units on your opponent's turn in some
Yeah.
circumstances or do something like that. But in Riftbound, at least so far, it seems that this set specifically with the low removal is very minion
Mhm.
focused.
Yeah, I think, coming from someone who's like, "This is very similar to Pokemon for me," you have, like, I don't know, I think it might be because Pokemon's 40 card decks, for these events. You have, like, a 25 card pre-con, and then you have, like, 3 or 4 packs. I don't remember if they've changed it
Mhm.
since the last time. I've done it, but obviously this is very similar. And then also coming from Lorcana, you probably know from Lorcana, it is very character based. If you can have enough things that you can evenly trade with your opponent before they're able to get lore, get like higher in the lore race, I think it really is similar to those. And maybe I should just say that because that's what my past is. But I do think if we're able to get cards that do have like some, I don't know, obviously won't be labeled flash, but that ability, that will really change how limited is
Mhm.
played and Riftbound, uh, which I think will be healthy because I think it's really like limited's fun. It's my favorite way to play games. So, but yeah, the one other thing I do want to mention is again, we're going to bring up Gale because he's just such a cool guy. He didn't play with a legend or a chosen champion. You didn't play with a chosen champion. And I think this is obviously something to bring up because when you don't do that, if you don't play with a legend, you are opening yourself up to so many more color combinations. And I think something we realized is a lot of these legends really don't provide much value when you're playing them in this setting. Aurelia, I think, is the one that really can provide value.
Rek'Sai too.
Rek'Sai too, a little
Rek'Sai's
bit.
very
I he was okay. I was just always like I would do it, and then I would look at what I have. Like I would flip over the 2 cards and like, do these even really matter?
You have
Because
to build around it for
yeah,
sure.
exactly.
It's not one that you can just play with a bunch of like high
Yeah,
costed cards.
yeah.
You have to build around it for sure.
But like Aurelia and Rek'Sai, Rek'Sai to a degree, but Aurelia more is probably the only one you may want to just leave. But I'll say this, and when I'm going into any of these events, if I pull anything but Aurelia and maybe Rek'Sai, I'm just leaving unless I get like if I get Jax
Get a lot of equipment and you can
yes.
play a Zero Jax. You probably
If
can.
I get like Ezreal and I get the purple Ezreal, then I may. But I also may just play the purple Ezreal as
Yeah, just play
yeah,
the purple
exactly.
Ezreal chosen champion and leave a legend at home.
So it's definitely something to think about because it opens yourself up. Also, that extra draw at the start of the game is very nice to be able to draw one more. Uh, so yeah, I definitely think there's a lot to consider with this format and how it's really going to be played. I'm really excited to see how it happens. We're
Mhm.
both playing in a midnight release, which will be really fun. Uh, get those energy drinks and hopefully win some games with the new set. But yeah,
I
any
do I
yeah,
do have one last note as
go
well.
ahead.
So, with this being 25 card decks, uh, synergy is a lot more important,
Hmm.
seemingly, in this game because you're gonna see your synergistic cards a lot more often being on 25 because we're on 25 cards and we're seeing 6 cards in our opening or sorry, we're seeing 7 cards in our opening hand if we double mulligan.
Hmm.
So, we're seeing 7 of 25 cards in our opener if we double mulligan without a chosen champion or without a
Which
legend.
I highly recommend in this
Correct.
event. If you're talking about synergy, try to get to those synergistic cards.
Right, because a lot of the cards in the set do have a lot of synergies with one another, and in a game where we only have 25 card decks, you will see those synergies.
Mhm,
So something to keep an eye out on, and something to look for is if you can draft synergistic cards, like one that I was using as an example is Unsung Hero and BF Sword. Right,
mhm,
you're almost always going to be able to draw off
mhm,
of Unsung Hero because you're gonna see your Unsung Hero and BF Sword
mhm.
together because the card count is so low. So
Yeah,
keep that in mind. Very interesting point. Most games I've played have been 40 card decks
yeah.
here, which means synergy is good, but not as relevant. But removing 15 cards from that equation definitely affects the math.
Yeah, I definitely think you just have to be wary of, like, can you use stuff that because if you get good synergies, you should have a very good shot at winning. Because if you're able to do a lot of things at one turn, if you're doing synergies versus just playing a big unit down every turn, yeah, the synergies are going to win, I'd say 75% of the time, just because they're able to build up over time. But also sometimes big units are just like uh, really good. I don't remember the name of it, but I was playing. I was in red. I had the 6 drop, and you basically can pay 7 and 2 red, and he comes in accelerated, and
Mhm.
like those type of things. Accelerate is also very good in limited. I will say that being
Oh,
able
that's
to.
interesting. I actually think it's markedly worse
I
than
just
in
think
the regular game.
being able to put something down that and your opponent doesn't like they didn't do the math to have to deal with it is because like we're talking about what we're like talking about leaving some runes open to maybe deal with things if you have it. Being able to play an accelerated unit down when your opponent didn't have that math in their head taking doing their own turn, I think is a very good
I
surprise.
think that's more on your opponent not considering your options than the card
It's
being
true,
good, right?
but I also think in limited, obviously, like yes, this game you have interaction on both turns, but from the games I've played, I'm more worried about doing what I need to do on my turn and then reacting to my opponent on my next turn. Like you said, you don't want to leave many runes open. If you have the cards, like if you have a hard bargain or something and you want to try to counter a spell, that's really going to mess with your opponent because they have to pay 2 more to actually let that spell go through.
Yeah.
But if you're accelerating something that has high might and your opponent didn't, like you said, it probably is on your opponent for not realizing that. But I also think it's a good surprise. And if you're able to pull it off in game one, obviously your opponent will respect it in game two with how small these decks are. But I still think Accelerate can work in some situations where like Rush and Lorcana, like you're able to plop that down and get like 4 more might or 4 more strength. It really can change math, which is why I'd say Accelerate is pretty good. Yeah,
Yep.
pretty good. But it's
Pro
good.
proactive instead of reactive is always
Yeah.
usually good in limited
Yeah.
formats.
Yeah. Uh yeah, any last thoughts on this limited talk?
I'm excited. Draft is not an official format yet. They haven't come out and made an official format for draft yet. I'm excited to do some drafting. I think that
Mhm,
that could be a lot of fun. I think that these pre-rift events, I'm probably only going to go to one or two of them because I think that the pre-rift decks are just too strong. They
mhm.
kind of polarize the format a little bit. You roll your champion, and that is going to impact
Oh, yes.
a lot of how you can play the game. Just depending on obviously your pool, but
Mhm.
if you roll one of the chosen champ or one of the champions you can actually play,
Yeah.
like Aurelia, it's pretty good.
Like if you pull Aurelia as your deck, and then you pull the Aurelia Fervent in your
Yeah.
packs, congrats on the win. If you can,
Lucian as well. Like
yeah.
Orange Lucian is just an insane unit by itself in limited. The 3 cost ready itself when it
Mhm.
conquers. Very, very good limited card. But the Lucian also comes with double punch first in the deck. And I believe the other orange deck also has that, but just having access to double punch first
Is Punch First a
immediately
common?
and not having to open it is nuts.
Because Punch
Absolutely,
First is a
absolutely.
common, right? Or it might be an uncommon.
Yeah, it's a common or uncommon. So
Okay.
hopefully you
So
open it in your pack.
exactly.
But
But yes, definitely a lot of good things, but, like, but if, like, you open Renata and you're like, "Okay, yeah, get out of here, like, I don't want this." Even if you open the blue Renata in your pack, still, it's just, like, it doesn't feel great. Hopefully, you can get some other stuff, but, like, the people who open Aurelias, the Aurelia pack versus the Renata pack are just gonna have, the chance to win the event or chance to get more wins is just increasingly different, which, like you said, it sucks that's like that, and I hope they, like, learn to, like, even those out a little bit and make these decks a little bit, more even on a playing field in that
yeah,
realm.
and I'm certainly more interested, like I said, to draft the set
Oh,
when
I am
that'll be
too.
possible and
Yeah.
see how that pans out. Because I think drafting the set without having those 15 card pools can be a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah. I think being able to, because it's and I think 6 packs is the unofficial, and then build a 25 card deck if I'm not mistaken. Uh,
Sure.
so, yeah, I think draft will be fun. But yeah, that was our episode 8. We appreciate everyone who listened in. We have some really cool news to share. We have a third full-time host joining us next week for episode 9. We will be obviously looking at the results from this upcoming regional, but we're doing I'll clue you guys in. We're going to do a full draft. If you guys listened to last week's episode 7, we did a draft of all of the legends with David or Chai TCG. With our new host, what we're going to be doing is you're going to be taking not comments, like the legends. This is just set 2, by the way. Legends, chosen champions, epics, rares. We're going to be taking and drafting those and kind of having a little fun. This is our way to do a tier list without doing a tier list, and seeing what we think is the best. And then we'll revisit them at the end of the set and see, okay, who was the best, who kind of saw it before it happened and all that, knowing we have a little information from China. But yeah, look forward to that. A new host, a new face to the show every week. But yeah, Eli, where can everyone find you on the social platforms?
Yep, follow me up. Battle tested TCG everywhere that's relevant. You'll be able to find me. I make let me just say some banger tweets these last couple of weeks. Had some good deck insights for sure. But yeah, battle tested TCG everywhere.
There you go. You guys can follow me at Limited Teddy also everywhere. I am getting that limited video out, kind of a whole review of the entire set and how to work with it for these limited events. So if you do want to win your pre-rift, you can watch that. Probably be out pretty close to when these events start. I guess week and a half from recording time, 2 weeks or so. But yeah, you can follow us at SM Riftbound on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Super Mega Riftbound. We appreciate everyone listening. We see you guys for episode 9 next week. Have a good rest of your day.